Divisional round recap part 1 here on First in Pod. We do every game every week, and we are into the nitty-gritty season, the playoffs, and the first night of divisional round action is in the books. Kansas City headed to another AFC championship game, 7 in a row, and Washington, its first NFC championship game since 1991, and Detroit, first time ever as a number 1 seed, eliminated, losing at home 45-31. We're going to recap both games. I'm Andre Fillipponi. He's Patrick Peterson. That's what we do on this podcast. We talk ball. We talk games, every single game, and we've done it all year. Subscribe, rate, review, and that will help grow the podcast. Spencer Ray producing. Pat, I feel good about what we said on the preview pod regarding these games. We didn't pick Washington to win, but we thought that this game would be much closer than the experts thought. And I do think the bigger story in this game is Washington and Jayden Daniels, even more than Detroit losing at home as a 1 seed, because we've seen 1 seeds upset before. It happens, not frequently, but it happens.
Right.
In my opinion, we've never seen a rookie quarterback play this well in getting his team this deep in the playoffs. Ben went 0-4. Ben Roethlisberger, by the end of the year, the defense had to carry him, and they needed kickers to miss field goals to make it. Joe Flacco got carried there by the Ravens in 07 or 08, excuse me. And then Mark Sanchez the following year. That was all Jets defense. This is Jayden Daniels' team, man.
Yeah.
If you would have told me the Lions were going to score more than 30 points in this game, I would have given Washington a chance, but I wouldn't have predicted them to win the game by 2 touchdowns. And he was almost perfect again in this game, Pat. I know the Lions have defensive injuries, and it makes things harder on them, but the dude's basically been flawless in his first 2 playoff games.
He really has, man. And I believe the time off really showed in Detroit with their slow start. And the Washington Commanders did a great job, a phenomenal job of keeping the pressure on Detroit drive after drive after drive. And this was another game where we didn't see the punter at all. The entire game, they did not punt the ball, and they beat Detroit Lions at their own game by converting 4th downs after 4th downs, time and time again. And they kept the pressure on them, not only by them converting those 4th downs, they was able to punch the ball in the end zone, not getting 3, not settling for 3, because if you remember, the touchdown before that gave them 41. They went the 41 points. They went for it twice on that drive, 4th and 2, and Jayden Daniels stayed the pressure right into space and delivering some dots to some open receivers. So I'm not surprised on the way Jayden has played in this game, because he has played like a seasoned vet all year long. And I believe what really hindered the Detroit Lions, not only the injuries, but when you're facing a dual quarterback that can pass the ball still, that can still hit his open receivers, that can still throw the ball with precision, you kind of fighting a double-edged sword. As a defensive coordinator, you kind of have to pick your poison, because not only that you're playing in your head, not only that you're playing against a dual quarterback, you're playing against a rookie quarterback. So you want to try to apply as much pressure to that quarterback as much as you can. But with Jayden Daniels, man, this guy has a great feel for the game. He understands where the pressure is coming from. He gets the ball out on time. He gets the ball. His sight adjustments are unbelievable. And man, they just found a way to not only shock the world, but to keep continue to prove to themselves that Jayden Daniels is their quarterback for the future, because it just seems like nothing seems to phase this young quarterback. And that's also remarkable to see when you have a young quarterback coming to the NFL, staring the pressure, the adversity, the naysayers right in their face and proving them wrong. You can't ask for nothing better.
I'm not going to ding you for this, Pat. There was a Tress Way sighting, the Washington punter. It was the first possession of the second half when they got the ball at halftime. And then, but hold on here. So they punt. It was a quick possession. Detroit comes down and scores. So now it's only a 3-point game. And then Washington had the ball for basically like 10 minutes, and the possession went all the way from the third quarter early into the fourth quarter. And that's when Brian Robinson punched in his 3rd touchdown. and made it a double-digit lead again. And it's that type of play where there was energy back in the building. Detroit was believing again. You know, they've had a game earlier in the year, the Houston game on the road, where Goff turned it over a ton and they rallied and they came back and won. So they're probably thinking that way, like, hey, we've been in this spot before. We're going to find a way to get it done. And then, like you mentioned, 4th down conversions, dude never sweats, never looks like he's overwhelmed by the moment like he has all year. I was watching the game with my dad because we're going up for the Bills-Ravens game together tomorrow, and we're like, when does he look like a rookie? He never does. We've watched him all year, and he just never has those games or those moments even where he like shits a brick and he's like, oh man, this is too much for me. If anything, he's giving shit to the sideline because they don't get to play it on time and it's a delay of game. You know,
Right.
it's mind-boggling, man, that he's been able to do this the way that he has. And I wanted to ask you, did you feel like the way that the Commanders were able to get guys as open as they were in this game, do you think that was more of Detroit's injury and lack of quality players on defense, or do you give more credit to the scheming that was done by Washington to get guys that open?
I give credit to the Washington scheme just because, like I said, this is a copycat league, right? And with the injuries that Detroit was dealing with coming into this game in the last part of their season, they started to blitz more than any other team in the NFL in order to apply pressure to the quarterback to speed him up.
Yep.
You know, so now when they had opportunity to play against, Jayden Daniels, they wanted to apply those same things. And Cliff Kingsbury understood that and knew that because he has a rookie quarterback. It's a playoff game. They're playing in their stadium. It's going to be loud. So he had a feeling that it was going to come and try to apply the same type of pressure. And they was doing a phenomenal job of side adjustments, screens at the right time, getting the ball out to Eckler. And he's making, 2-3 yard catches turn into 10. You know what I mean? So it was things like that kept continuing to snowfall for this Commanders offense that kept them in a positive situation each and every time Jayden Daniels was back there taking the snap. Because if you look at it as well, I think it was like maybe 3 times that it was like 3rd and 9+ in this game. You know what I mean? So as an offense, you always want to keep 3rd downs manageable. And Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels did a phenomenal job of that. And I believe that's what kept them on schedule and also allowed them to keep their entire playbook open now. It didn't make them one-dimensional. When you get into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s, it's kind of one-dimensional, and teams kind of know what are your tendencies in those down and distances. But Washington did a great job of making those 3rd downs obtainable, as far as being able to convert those 3rd downs, but also allowing their playbook to still be open to keep the Detroit Lions on their heels.
Like we talked about too, it's easier to get a 1st down on 4 downs than it is 3. And so that was also part of the formula for Washington, even though they got stopped early in the game when they tried to do it, and that did not deter them from going back to that for the rest of the game. Pat, the Detroit Lions here, and them falling short of their goal last year, they got to the NFC Championship game. This was the first time they were ever the 1 seed, and they're 1 and done in the playoffs. And, I think you might want to say they scored 31 points, so you don't want to hang the offense here, for losing this game. But I am going to blame the offense.
Me too.
Losing. You turned the ball over 5 times, and I thought what really frustrated me, and I have a soft spot for Detroit, but I'm not a Lions fan. I didn't bet on them or anything. It's not like I'm saying this as someone that like they hurt personally here because they lost the game. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, who looks like Barry Sanders in this game. Why is Goff throwing the ball as much as he did? And why are we running this boneheaded Jamison Williams passing play? I get it. Antoine Randall L's on the coaching staff, and he threw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl in that building. Okay, but come on now. You've got something that's working. Washington's 30th against the run. They can't stop it. You got a guy that every time he touches the ball, he looks like he's been shot out of a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Burst that, I mean, he looked like it looked like he was playing a video game in terms of how much faster he was when he had the ball in his hand. Gibbs. You allowed for Goff, and I think too cute play calling to kill you in this game.
100%. 100%. And that is kind of what killed them last year. Obviously, they went for it on fourth downs, but I just feel like they got way too cute. That play that Jameson threw, attempt to throw, that was a bonehead play. Like you don't put the ball in a non-quarterback hands in that situation. Because at the end of the day, if the quarterback had that ball had his hands on the ball in that situation, he's throwing the ball away because at the end of the day, he had nowhere to throw the ball.
Yep.
So that was a bonehead play choice by Ben Johnson to call that play in, because at the end of the day, that is one of those plays that's called maybe on a 3rd and 1 where you're trying to catch somebody off guard. Like, this team has the momentum. You're not tricking them by any way or form or fashion by running this play. Like, it looked cute and it ended up biting you in the butt, but at the same time, this is not the time to be getting cute. You put the ball in the pass thrower's hands, and that's Jared Goff. I know he had a bad game, in this game throwing 4 interceptions, but at the end of the day, I want to have the ball in the guy who makes the best decision throwing the ball. Obviously, again, he didn't make, too many good decisions today throwing the football, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have him throwing the football versus having my receiver throw the ball when he's trying to be, on ESPN and just trying to, make a play, which was uncalled for at that moment.
That specific play, I agree with you on, but like the overall, the pick six, the interception in the end zone by Goff, the fumble he had in the game, these are all situations where I look at it and say, down and distance wise, was that a better way to go than giving the ball to your running backs? They averaged 8.7 yards per carry in this game. They ran for over 200 yards, but it was only on 23 carries. I just watched a week ago my team lose a playoff game by 2 touchdowns, just like the Lions tonight, because there was a drive where Baltimore ran the ball on every friggin' play.
Right.
Detroit should have done that until Washington showed it could stop it. It never did.
Nope.
So, I mean, and I thought the one observation that Burkhardt and Brady made during the game that I agree with them on is, Pat, now you're probably going to lose both of your coordinators. One guy's going to take, both of them are going to take head coaching jobs. So how does this team, how do they come back from this next year?
I don't know. It's going to be an uphill battle for sure, because as we all know, man, unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs, man, that window is like this, and you have to take advantage of that opportunity when it's right there in front of you. And this was an opportunity for Detroit to really grab the bull by the horn and really control their own destiny. And like I said last week, the time off, it really showed that it hindered this team. It's only a couple teams. You have to have a really mature football team to go into a bye and just hope that they understand the ramifications of, the rest, and understanding how important it is to know our opponent going into this game. Because at the end of the day, the team that we're about to play, they're coming off a game. We're not playing a game. We've just been watching a lot of tape, and we all know the game is different versus watching it and being on the field. You know what I mean? So that time off definitely showed in Detroit's execution early on in the game, and they just could never really get out of first gear because of the pressure that Washington continued to apply throughout this game.
They made a big deal out of, on that interception return, the hit Goff took to the head and how that should have been called a penalty. And by the letter of the law, it should have been, because quarterbacks, even on interception returns, are considered defenseless players. But I don't like that. In my opinion, like, once you throw an interception, if you're going to try to make a tackle, you should be treated like any other player, Pat.
No doubt about it. So how else would you go and block the quarterback? Would you just want us to go up there and pity pat him? You have to block him. Like, you have to block him. Now he's not a defensive player no more. Like, he's trying to make a tackle. He's running towards the ball, and now we have to make a block. Regardless of what position that he plays, that quarterback, that red jerseys is off of him now, because now he's on defense. He's not on offense no more. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I don't like that call either. I thought that was a clean block. The guy, if it was anybody else, it would have been okay. If it was a DBs get hit like that all the time. And when a receiver coming to block, we get hit like that all the time. Are they going to call that unnecessary roughness on receivers? No, because we're defenders. So at that given time, the quarterback is a defender. He's not a quarterback anymore. So all of that unnecessary roughness, that stuff is out of the window now.
Part of me thinks
unless it's a blindside block, and it wasn't a blindside block.
Part of me thinks that if Bridgewater was in the game the rest of the way, Detroit would have been better off, because it would have forced him to run the ball with a guy that was a high school football coach a few weeks ago in there. So Detroit season sadly comes to an end. And it's going to be another long off season for them as they stew over this, trying to get to their first ever Super Bowl and feeling like this team was the team of destiny. Instead, it's Washington moving on, and now they await the Rams or the Eagles. Either way, they'll be the road team again next week. Yeah. Matt, let's go to the game we watched earlier today, the Chiefs and Texans. The way Houston sounded after the game, whether it was C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, Will Anderson afterwards, they really feel like they got hosed by the officials in this game. Do they have a right to feel that way?
Not really. I mean, it was, in my opinion, it's only two calls that was questionable. And the only one that I probably would take back was, I can't remember exactly the moment in the game, but it was when Patrick was in the backfield and he kind of slid, and both Houston players kind of hit each other, and it kind of grazed Patrick's helmet. That's the only one I felt that was questionable. But other ones, those was clean calls. I mean, we all know that we feel like, that we're playing against the referees and, Patrick Mahomes, and they get all the calls. That may be true, but at the same time, those calls that we saw, is only one of them that I thought that was questionable for the most part. Other than that, the game was called pretty clean. And Houston just didn't make enough plays, man. They didn't make enough plays. They didn't tackle. They didn't do a good job of getting Patrick down in the in the pocket when they had the opportunity to. And just they couldn't keep Travis Kelce tamed. You know what I mean? I don't think a receiver had on the Chiefs had over 20 yards this game. It was a Travis Kelce show. And I think that's what ended up hurting them and kept them back from winning this game, because the first half, it was a game. It was a real tight game, for the most part. The Chiefs, end up getting it going by scoring that late touchdown, putting them up 13-6, and they kind of started to find their way throughout the rest of the game. But for the most part, Houston had a chance. It's just they did not make enough plays on offense. I felt like they should have kept, feeding Joe Mixon a little bit more in that game, because at one point he had 17 carries for 87, 84 yards. So I felt like they kind of got away from him, because that drive, when it was 11 minutes and 50 something seconds left, I was at my friend's house. We watched the game. I said, man, if I'm the Houston Texans right now, and they just came off the missed field goal, I'm not putting all of my eggs in this one basket, because you got to think about it. We will see the ball at least two more times after this possession that we have right now. So if we don't get a touchdown, let's find a way to finesse 3 points, because our defense is playing good enough to where we can get the ball back in short field and then have another opportunity to drive the ball down and get a field goal. I just felt like those two possessions, Houston got above themselves by really putting their eggs in one basket way too early. I feel like they could have stayed with their game plan by running the ball, dink and dunking here and there to try to keep the Kansas City Chiefs on their heels. But once it became a just passing situation, those DBs and the front four just had their ears pinned back, and they was hunting after that.
So the one thing I'll disagree with you on is I thought that the roughing the passer on Anderson on Kansas City's second drive was not a penalty. That was on.
He hit him in the head, though.
You think?
Yeah. Like you said, by law, you can't not have any forcible impact at the quarterback head or neck area.
I thought he touched him there. I didn't think it was forcible. I think there was a grazing that happened. I think there was contact. Yeah. I would say if like that's like accidental. So now anytime a quarterback gets touched above the shoulder pads, it's got to be an automatic penalty. I hate that. I mean, if that's then you got to call that across the board then, because when you do it just for Patrick Mahomes, it feels like it's selective officiating. This game to me, I thought really was a great microcosm of how both team seasons went, because Houston's offensive line issues hurt them all season. Pass protection wise, pass blocking wise, they were awful. They were a good run blocking team. They were a horrible pass blocking team all year. And that reared its ugly head again with 9 sacks, I think, in this game. And Karlaftis had 3. And, I think Stroud brings a little bit of that on himself, but still, I mean, the offensive line overall was just pathetic. And then with Kansas City, it's like you don't feel, other than like, the amazing play from Mahomes to Kelce here and there, like they're playing a great game, but they just find a way to win. Like they got outgained, and the total yards in this game were 336 to 212.
That's crazy.
They didn't do much offensively. Mahomes had 162 passing yards.
That's what I'm saying. So, man, look, I'm looking at this.
By 9.
Hollywood Brown, 0 catches. Juju Smith-Schuster, 0 catches. DeAndre Hopkins, 0 catches. Like, no receivers have any I'm sorry, Xavier Worthy.
That's it.
Yeah, Worthy had 5 catches. But other than that, no receiver had a reception in this game, and they still won. So it just goes to show, man, the Kansas City Chiefs can win, like we've been talking about all year.
They rushing yards as a team combined.
Right. They can win any way they can. They can win any way they want to, any way they can. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. They're gonna have a shot to win the ball game.
I know they've got. I know they've got voodoo magic, and they've got, everything seems, these breaks in these playoff games, you make your own luck. It seems to go their way, etc. And, you might disagree with this just because you've got to see him lose. But I honestly feel like if they play this way against Baltimore, Buffalo, they'll lose next week. I really do.
I agree. I told you who I got going to Super Bowl out of the AFC. Baltimore. It just all depends on what happens tomorrow.
Yeah. But I mean, I marvel at how they're able to just kicker, a guy that made like more long distance kicks Fairburn than anybody in the league all year, and he forgets how to make field goals when he gets there.
Right. It's crazy.
It never fails.
Crazy.
How about the guy coming off the field after the opening kickoff and he shoves his special teams coach like that, Pat?
Hey, that's my ex-teammate, Chris Boyd. I played with him in Minnesota. He is a firecracker.
Firecracker?
Yeah, he's a firecracker. Like he's ready to explode at all times.
He did. The firework went off in this game, dude. That was the grand finale.
Hey, so I'm watching. I went upstairs because I'm washing some laundry. So my dryer goes off. The washing machine goes off. So I walk upstairs, to change the clothes over to the dryer. I come back down. All I see is, dude. So I text my boy Cam Dancer because we all play together. I said, man, what's wrong with Chris, man? Get your boy. He said, man, Chris Boyd, man, he a loose cannon. I said, that's not even the right word, man. Like that dude is just straight wild. But he
special teams coach credit that he didn't explode back on him in that situation.
The special team coach is like, whoa, like, what are you doing? Like, he was
Right.
lost. He was confused.
That was very bizarre. It's a shame because I think Stroud is not quite on Daniels' level, but I really do think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And they got to get that offensive line situation squared away. And it's not out of a lack of trying. I mean, they got Laramie Tunsil as their left tackle. They've spent money in draft picks on that offensive line. There's no reason for it to be that bad. If there's an offensive line coach, I don't even know the dude's name. If there's an offensive line coach in the NFL who deserves to be fired after this season, it's theirs. Because he had the ingredients and the pieces there to make it happen, and it completely blew up on them, not just in a playoff game, but really for the duration of the entire season.
All year. Yeah, all year.
All right, Pat. So 23-14 is the final there. Kansas City's going to host the AFC Championship game again, and Mahomes improves to 7-0 in the divisional round. He's never lost in this round. It's the best record of any quarterback in a single round of the playoffs, undefeated in order to get to the AFC Championship game. And unlike last year where it went to Baltimore, these teams got to go through Kansas City again, where Taylor Swift was sitting with Caitlin Clark throughout this game. So we will recap Eagles, Rams, and Ravens, Bills tomorrow night. So look for that in your feed. Subscribe, rate, review. First in Pod. He's Patrick Peterson. I'm Andre Fillipponi for Spencer Ray. We'll be back tomorrow.